Coming up on iOS today, Rosemary, Orchard, and I take a look at some apps and gadgets that make use of Apple's HealthKit. Stay tuned and get healthy.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is iOS Today, episode 621, recorded Tuesday, September 27th, 2022. HealthKit apps for iOS. This episode of iOS Today is brought to you by ITPro TV. Are you looking to break into the world of IT? Well, get the introduction you need with ITPro TV. Get 30% off when you sign up at itpro.tv/twit and use code TWIT30 at checkout. Hello and welcome back to iOS Today, the show where we talk all things iOS, tvOS, watchOS, HomePodOS, iPadOS, etc., etc. Yes, it is all of the operating platforms, the operating systems, the apps and services, etc. to do with Apple. We love to talk about all of that here on iOS Today. I am one of your hosts, Mikah Sargent.
And I am Rosemary Orchard. Hi, everybody. Lovely to be back again this week.
Hello, Rosemary. How are you today?
I'm pretty good, Mikah, but I'm feeling a little bit lopsided this week. I don't know, if it's this Apple Watch Ultra or something that I've been trying out, but it feels pretty honking on me.
You have joined
been talking about health apps
team?
this week. Yeah, I thought we're talking about health apps this week, right? I have to. Somebody has to try out the Ultra. Full disclosure, folks, the old 38 mil, the new 42 mil, the small one, is usually the size of my wrist, more or less. So the fact that if you're watching the video, this looks like it's bigger than my wrist, that is not an optical illusion. It is slightly bigger. But you know what? I'm actually liking this. There's certain advantages to it, and I have a feeling it's going to be pretty good for my health and fitness too.
I was going to say, it actually looks quite good on your wrist. I was expecting it to be even, larger and unwieldy. But from you showing it on screen, I'm kind of impressed at how nicely it looks. Yeah, it is huge, of course, but it's not so much so that, oh, wait, is that the green Alpine band?
I might have picked the green one with you in mind, Mikah, because I know how much you love green. And also, the other ones weren't as appealing, and I kind of wanted to try this whole Alpine loop thing. And I'm liking it. Though, pro tip for folks, don't do it up too tightly. If you do it up too tightly, there's a little metal loop. The way that this goes around, it pulls it back. So if it's too tight, you are not going to get that thing off. It took me a good 10 minutes in the Apple Store with the Apple Store employees helping me because I put it on a little bit too tight. But the good news is the folks in the Apple Store were very nice and didn't laugh at me all that much. So,
man, I hadn't considered that. Yeah, you get it. Yeah, wow. I actually, I ordered one of those. I've got the Apple Watch Series 8 on my wrist. I ordered one of those bands, and originally it wasn't supposed to come until October. It is now coming tomorrow, so I'm very excited to have the green Alpine band as well. We'll be twinsies as far as that part goes. But yeah, so we've got the Apple Watch 8 in hand, the Apple Watch Ultra, and I believe as of this morning, I'm going to check when I go into the app. Yes. I have worn it on my wrist enough at night that I now have wrist temperature tracking. So you are, whether you're using it for retrospective ovulation tracking or you're just using it for a simple body temperature measurement, although Apple does call it wrist temperature in the app, you need to calibrate it. And you calibrate it by wearing it to bed 5 nights. And once you've worn it to sleep 5 nights, then the temperature sensor, there's one that's on the inside of the Apple Watch that is up against your wrist. And then there's one that's underneath the display that is sort of taking the environmental temperature to provide for an understanding of how you and the sensor itself that's underneath the watch might be affected by the environment. And then once it's done enough of those measurements, it can form a baseline for what your body temperature is while you're asleep. And then it can start to provide some information about how your temperature might be trending up or down based on that. And as of this morning, my body is 0.06 Fahrenheit from my baseline. So it'll be interesting to see as I continue to wear this, how that average changes over time, or if I kind of stay right there in the middle. But what I love about this is it's a good way to get an early indicator of if you might be running a fever or something like that, where you wake up and you see that your temperature is trending quite a bit above or maybe even below, which could be something else, your baseline measure. So that's about the only thing that's new in the Apple Watch 8 versus the 7, which I was rocking before. And frankly, even back to earlier Apple Watches, a lot of people are not making the upgrade this year because the processor inside of the Series 8 has remained unchanged, and it's remained unchanged for quite a while. So I know a lot of people have not upgraded to the most recent model. And the fact that the most recent model doesn't have a green option, I'm rocking the blue, but it's just
I
not
could
the
see
same.
you upgrading Mikah if there was a green option, that would be very much in your wheelhouse. And if you're in the ultra land, then you get a choice of watch straps. And that's it. There's no choice of color. And even this action button here on the back, which is kind of difficult to show off with my microphone, it comes in orange or orange. And there's also a choice of orange.
Really?
But you know what? I'm actually quite liking it. I'm finding that despite the fact that I didn't necessarily get to choose the color, it's, the titanium, it's actually, it's almost like the starlight color that they have on the aluminium watches in some ways. It's a kind of somewhere between a sort of pale gold champagne color and a silver, which is quite nice. And you know what? It turns out that action button, it's got some limitations to it, but it's also pretty powerful because you can have it just do an action whenever you press it. And, for better or for worse, there's no extra confirmation or anything on this. So I'll just pop open the Watch app so I can show folks about this, because I know some folks are definitely curious as to what this looks like and how it works. So when you're in the Watch app, if you've got more than one watch, you need to make sure that the Ultra is the one that's selected. There's a section called Action Button, and you can choose your action. So you get a workout, a stopwatch, a waypoint, backtracking, diving, a torch function, a shortcut, or none. I, of course, in preparation for Shortcuts Corner, have a shortcut selected, and I have a custom shortcut set up. But when I press it, and I'll just see if I can get the watch screen up here. So this is the breathe face on my Apple Watch for anybody who's curious. And because I'm mirroring, this is an accessibility functionality available in the settings app in case anyone's curious. I've got actually a blue line around the screen on my phone, on my actual watch, but not on the phone where you're seeing it. But when I press my shortcut button, it actually, flashes the screen up red to let me know that it's happened. It's more of an orange in real life. And we'll just stay like that for a little while and then, do the actual action for me. And so now you can see it's changed my watch face for me. And it did also send me a notification. That notification's not showing up. Oh, there it is. There we go. That notification isn't showing up because it takes a little while. I set a delay in there. But, I'm pretty pleased with the fact that there is a button that you can press and have it just do whatever for you. It seems pretty cool, and I think that that's going to be really useful. I've had it a couple of times where even though I've got my fitness focus mode, I've got a watch face associated with it from iOS 16. I go to my ballet class, I turn up and I get started and I'm enjoying ballet, and 15, 20 minutes into the class, I realize I didn't start the workout. And I think having just a single physical button that I can press, which I'll show you folks how I'm doing that later, that I can turn on the workout mode with is going to be pretty helpful for that. So I'm going to give that a try tonight after this episode, and I'll have to report back next week if it's any good.
All right, yeah, that's we'll be eagerly waiting for that. A lot of people who have gotten their Apple Watch Ultra have been trying some of the fun stuff that it can do. I've been reading those reviews and seeing what folks have to say about it. So it's been fascinating. So with this episode, of course, a lot of what the Apple Watch can do is recorded into the Health app. So I've got, hand washing metrics where my Apple Watch will sort of remind me to continue to wash my hands so that I get in that full at least 20 seconds. to fully clean your hands as is recommended by the authorities. But it also, of course, is tracking your heart rate, your if you wear it to bed, your sleep, your walking steadiness, all sorts of data that gets plugged into the health app automatically. And other apps can make use of that data. Other apps can contribute to that data. And that's kind of what we're talking about here today on iOS Today is some of the gadgets and apps that you can use to do something with all of that health data. So let's kick things off. Rosemary, you've got a nice rundown of some apps and gadgets you can use for HealthKit.
Yeah. So one of the things that I found, and Mikah sort of alluded to this a bit earlier, is that my temperature can be a pretty good indication of my health. And one of the things that I really struggle with is remembering things when I have a bit of a fever. I guess I'm probably not alone in that, you take your temperature and okay, I'll write that down in a moment, but I really need a drink, or I'll just take a quick nap, and then you obviously forget it. And so it can be quite difficult to track your data. And there's a product available in the Apple Store from Withings, which is their Thermo Smart Temporal Thermometer. This is $99.95 in the Apple Store or direct from Withings, but if you keep an eye on Amazon, you can often get them on sale. And this pairs with the Withings HealthMate app, which is a free download and works with all of their products. They've recently consolidated things. But what it allows you to do is take your temperature, and you can also store multiple people on this. So what you do is once you've turned it on, then it will start up, it lights up a little bit, and then you just run it over your head and it will vibrate. I'm not doing it very well right now because I'm wearing makeup and I don't want to get this really dirty. But it will tell you, and it's saying 38.1. I don't think I'm actually 38.1. I think that's the studio lights up there, which are messing with me. And then it gives you the option to assign it to a different person if you have more than one person associated with the device. And you can do that by just swiping up and down on the actual screen. And that one is, pretty useful. And I have to say, I found it very handy to keep a track of my temperature when I am not well. Having something like the Oura Ring or the Apple Watch with the Series 8 or the Ultra will certainly give you a good idea of a baseline. But all of these are measuring your extremities. And the problem with that is not going to be the best indicator. Now, a forehead thermometer, also not necessarily the best indicator, but this one will work even when you have an ear infection, where you really don't want to put something in your ear, or you've got a sore throat and you don't want to put something in your mouth. And so as a bonus, you don't really need to clean it all that much. You just give it a wipe and you're done. So I'm a big fan of this one, and I don't know, Mikah, if you've tried any of the smart thermometers, but I love the fact that this data goes into HealthKit, so it ties up with my heart rate and my sleep data, and I can really group everything together and see how I'm doing, because guess what? Spoiler, if I'm not sleeping well, it's usually an indication that I'm not very well, or I'm going to be ill soon.
Mm-hmm. So I have used one that does over Bluetooth tie that data and automatically upload it. It's just handy because, of course, you can enter the data manually, but sometimes I forget to do that. And so having this device that just automatically puts it into the system for me, and I think that makes it, what I like about it is it kind of encourages me to do it more frequently. I don't have to think about it. I can just, run the temperature measurement and everything else is taken care of, versus the process of kind of making it, sitting down and opening this up and doing this and doing that. And then I find myself not wanting to take the time to make that happen. So yeah, I'm very much fond of any of these services that will sort of automate that process so that I am more likely to want to complete it.
Yes, exactly. It's the same thing I have with my bathroom scale, which I didn't bring into my office today because it's quite heavy as it is a bathroom scale. But I've got one of the Eufy bathroom scales, and it syncs with HealthKit. And that's great because it actually stores all that data somewhere. And you and I both know I can create a shortcut that'll let me save this data. And I'll show folks how to do that in Shortcuts Corner if you've already got a device, but it doesn't have HealthKit support. But I'm not going to use it. I'm always going to forget. So it's definitely good to give myself better options. But speaking of better options, you can monitor your sleep with, one of your smart devices that you might already own or you've recently purchased. But if you find that you don't like wearing devices at night, like, wearing a watch bothers you while you sleep, or the ring feels uncomfortable, or just you're not used to it and you don't really want to start wearing devices in bed, maybe you have, long work days, then there are other options. And I know, Mikah, you've got something similar to this, but this is the Withings Sleep Analyzer. And this you pop under your mattress, and it's kind of hard to tell. It's got like a sort of inflated tubes in it, and it plugs in via USB just into power. That's all you need to provide it, just a USB port for power. And then what you do is you just go to sleep on it. That's it. But it does do a very good job of tracking your sleep for you. And I have found that this is incredibly useful because I do wear my Apple Watch to bed, but sometimes I misjudge my timing for charging it, or I just fall asleep without putting my watch back on, or I'm just wake up and I feel a bit uncomfortable, or maybe I'm not very well, so I take off my watch, my ring, and sort of dump them on the side of the bed, and then fall asleep, and then have to wake up in the morning and unentangle them from my duvet. But it's really nice to just know that I can sleep and still have data. And it's very good. I found that it's been very good at showing me the data. But again, this syncs with HealthKit. And I find that having all the data in one place for me has really been key to being able to analyze things better for my own health. What about you, Mikah?
Absolutely. That is the most important thing is, all of these data gathering gadgets that we have independently, you can get a little bit of information from them, especially these sleep tracking ones. Of course, you can get some sort of sleep number and you can figure out, I didn't sleep very well last night. But the real power, I think, of these devices that we purchase is when you can combine them together. That is what makes them, I think, very valuable, because at that point you start to get a bigger picture of what could be going on. And even some of the apps themselves will pull from those different data points and say, your temperature was trending higher and your sleep was not going as great. What happened? And you can start to realize, this is something that I did that was different, or maybe I ate later than I normally do. And so my body was processing that food while I was asleep, and that caused my body temperature to rise. There are all sorts of reasons, but having at least that information to go, okay, this could be why this is happening, is a great jumping off point. You mentioned that I use a different one. I use the Beautyrest sleep tracker monitor. This is an under mattress tracker, a lot like the one that you have. It has two sort of rectangles that are foam, and they have a little sensor on top, and you put one on one side of the bed and one on the other side of the bed so that it can track up to two people and their sleep. And then it will do a lot of the same thing. It measures heart rate, respiration, and movement, and uses all of those to determine your sleep and how well you slept. And what I like about these is there's versus how we used to do things whenever it was just an app that we had on our phone. You always had to go in and say, hey, I'm going to sleep now. But these newer processes don't have that requirement. And so it's much easier to use. I don't run the risk of forgetting that I needed to hit that button, and it will just go, he's laid in bed, he's up for the next 20 minutes or so, and then he falls asleep. And that's the point at which I start tracking his sleep. That's very handy and makes all the difference as far as I'm concerned.
I'm very fortunate in that I put a smart home button by the side of my bed, which I always hit before I go to sleep, because that turns off all the lights and it turns off like the air purifier and things like that. So I can tie that into some things. But that's a HomeKit automation or smart home automation. That's not running on my devices. So I still have to have something somewhere that actually logs that, hey, I went to sleep, and put that into the health app, and then have to tie it somehow into the getting up side, which again, that same button, I press it again in the morning, and it turns things back on and opens up the curtains and the blinds and things like that. But still, I have to get that data back into my phone somehow and now you stop logging the sleep. And there isn't really an easy way to do that from a physical button. thus far that I found. So I've personally been enjoying the Withings sleep monitor, and it's pretty great. The reason why I have it out is I bought a new bed recently, and I haven't yet put it back in under my bed, so under my mattress. So I need to do that later today. And so I thought, yeah, why not bring it into the office to show everybody, and then I can use that as my prompt to put it back.
There you go. Yeah, it's especially nice, like you said. I hadn't considered that if you make the thing that turns off the lights and does all of that stuff also the thing that kind of can kick things off, then you probably aren't going to miss it, because you're not going to sleep with the lights on. So yeah, that's unless you're very, very tired, I guess. That's helpful. All right, let us take a quick break before we come back with a few more gadgets and gizmos that I want to talk about. But I do want to tell you about ITPro TV, who are bringing you this episode of iOS Today. You out there can get the best possible IT training to accelerate your IT career with ITPro TV. These edutainers make learning engaging and fun on your own schedule. With their virtual labs and practice tests, you'll always be supported and prepared for your exams. You can binge episodes in 20 to 30-minute increments. They have more than 5,800 hours of IT training that is always up to date with the most current content, which of course is important in this fast-paced, always changing world. There's always new things coming up, so we got to make sure to stay on top of it, and that's what ITPro TV helps you do. You can learn when and where you want, be that a desktop, Apple TV, Roku, or you can hit the road with your tablet or your mobile device. One reviewer says, it's easy to understand what they're saying, it's well explained, and the classes are very smooth, along with the notes and transcription given. By wrapping their own experience in with the course, it makes it easier to comprehend the hardest topics. They also make sure you feel confident enough to pass the exams. And another reviewer says, this is the best website to study IT and cybersecurity related courses. I like the part where they make a few courses free for a weekend. Yes, in fact, each month, ITPro TV offers multiple free webinars you can watch, so be sure to look for them, and you can also view all of their past webinars on demand. Don't forget about your IT team as well. Check out an ITPro TV business plan for your team today. Get 30% off when you sign up at itpro.tv/twit and use the code TWIT30. That's 30% off when you sign up at itpro.tv/twit and use code TWIT30. ITPro TV. Build or expand your IT career and enjoy the journey. Thanks so much to ITPro TV for sponsoring this week's episode of iOS Today. All right, back from the break, and now I want to tell you about an interesting device called the KardiaMobile 6L by Alivecor. Kardia is this system has been around for a while now. Kardia has made little accessories for taking ECG, or sometimes called EKG, but electrocardiogram measurements. And so they made a device where you could kind of put your fingers, rest them on this device that had these little spots, and take a measurement of your heart's electronic signals. They have since come out with a device called the KardiaMobile 6L. And the reason why it's called that is because it means 6 lead. It can record more EKG, ECG leads than the original device that they had, thanks to another plate on the back of the device. So you've got your 2 spots on the front where you rest your fingers, and then you're meant to put the third one either on the bare skin above your knee, or you can put it on the bare skin above your ankle. And when you do, then it can do a 6-lead ECG or EKG. Very helpful in paying attention to your heart rhythms and being able to track that. But what's great is, once again, this information can be added to the Health app. So I want to show you how simple it is to use. So I have the Kardia app launched on my phone here. And what I need to do is tell it, hey, I want to start a measurement. And so I say, record your EKG. And then it says, okay, if you want to do that, do you want to do a single lead EKG or a 6-lead EKG? In which case, again, I would put it on either the bare skin of my knee or on my ankle. I'm just going to do a single lead EKG. So I rest the device on the counter, and I take my left finger or fingers and my right finger or fingers and put them on either side of the device, and you will see that it'll connect to it, and then it will start doing the measurement. And so now it is currently taking my EKG, and you can see that it's measuring those rhythms and, mapping those out, graphing those out. It will probably report tachycardia because my BPM is a little high. I take a medicine in the morning that raises my heart rate whenever my day starts. So we might get that. But if it stays enough below 100 BPM, then it won't report. There you go. So I got normal sinus rhythms. So this says that, it hasn't recognized any of the rhythms or the arrhythmias that it checks for, which are heart rhythms that are abnormal, rhythms that are not meant to happen. And what's, I think, very cool about this too, is that if you do get something that is off, you can, of course, there's the simple stuff of like downloading a PDF of it so that you could give it to your doctor, adding notes and tags like, oh, I just drank coffee and maybe that's what's causing it. But there's also some fun little features like notifying your inner circle. So you can set up in the app your quote inner circle, and these are the people with whom you share your health information. You can order, if you pay for the subscription, you buy the device and you can use much of it for free, but to detect other arrhythmias and to make use of these features, you do need to pay a subscription. You can actually send it off to a clinician to review your heart rhythms, and it will be a board certified clinician who will look at your EKG measurements and sort of provide some information about that. You can also speak with a cardiologist. Again, this is included. You get so many options or so many opportunities to speak to a cardiologist. And then, of course, the option to view the history. So I'm going to close out of this and go back to the main screen. And then you can see some of these other things that I have in here. But what's cool is that the app also pulled in my ECG or EKG measurements from my Apple Watch. And so those show up in the app and have the information that the Kardia app can provide about that the Apple's own app doesn't necessarily have. So I found this to be very helpful. This is a device commonly used for folks who do have some sort of arrhythmia. And so, your doctor might say, hey, you want to be keeping track of when you have atrial fibrillation, for example, and this device can help you do that along with your Apple Watch. So very handy in that instance. And what I was pleasantly surprised to see is that, at least for me, it was an FSA purchase. And for folks outside of the US, I don't know if you folks have FSA, HSA, but these are little pockets of money that you can set aside as part of your health insurance that are not taxed and can be used to purchase medicines and, in this case, healthcare devices. And so this was something that I was able to use my FSA to purchase, and that way I can keep track of my heart health, as that has been an issue of mine in the past. So yeah, very cool. The KardiaMobile 6L was this specific model, but they also make one that's in the shape of kind of a card that you can keep in your wallet or your purse or your bag, and it is a single lead EKG, ECG, and so you could use that as well. So again, all of that information is then shared into the health app, but it can pull from the health app as well, and all of that information can then be used in different ways. And I like that in the app, it pays attention to my sleep and all those other things, and kind of gives me some insights of how that could be affecting how my heart is performing. The other thing that I'll mention, because this was a long time kind of white whale for me for a while, was toothbrush tracking. For quite a while, iOS's health app has offered a section for tracking your toothbrushing, the duration and how often you brush your teeth. And look, I just do what whenever it comes to that, I just do what is recommended. But there was just something nice about kind of looking back and going, yeah, I have all that information in there. So ultimately not important that I have it because it's not as if it varies for me day to day, but there is something kind of delightful about having that bit of information and going, wow, that's something I've committed to my whole life. So I wanted to have that toothbrush tracking, but at the time, whenever Apple first released this toothbrush tracking, there was only one toothbrush that supported Apple's HealthKit. And so I had to create a shortcut that I used with an NFC tag. But then it turned out that for quite a while, iOS had a bug where when you tried to log specifically toothbrushing, it wouldn't work. You couldn't log toothbrushing. Finally, they fixed that. But around the time that they fixed that, then Oral-B added the ability to track your toothbrushing in its own app, as long as you had one of the toothbrushes, Teethbrush, one of the toothbrushes that was able to connect over Bluetooth. So you can use the Oral-B app from obviously Oral-B and connect it to your specific toothbrush. I've got the Oral-B 7000 SmartSeries, and it is Bluetooth enabled. It also has this little fun display that you can use that kind of helps you keep track of your toothbrushing and shows you as you're switching between the different modes of the toothbrush. And then you just kind of brush your teeth, and it connects to the phone and it keeps track of how you've been brushing. It's also got a pressure sensor inside so that you don't press too hard on your gums as you are brushing. Yes, there is a such thing as pressing too hard. I know some folks really like to get in there, but that's not good for your gums, not healthy for your gums. So yeah, I use the Oral-B toothbrush and the Oral-B app to keep track of that data. Although I will say that this was when I switched from, upgraded from iPhone 11 to iPhone 12. I forgot to go into the Oral-B app and connect the toothbrush to the new app. So between iPhone 11 and now, I actually haven't had my toothbrush connected to the Oral-B app and have not been keeping. I know. I haven't been keeping it in the health app, but again, I think that proves the point that it's like, it's not super important to me that it's in there because I do it every day. It's just kind of like a nice...
the ability to get it into the health app that you wanted. Yes. Yeah. I was really annoyed because I have a Sonicare, where the Philips toothbrush is, and it's got Bluetooth, it's got tracking in the app, and I was like, yes, great, this is going to support HealthKit. No, it didn't. But you've just prompted me, Mikah. I just went and checked the Sonicare website. It was updated August 1st, and as of the version 10.5.0, the Sonicare app syncs with the Apple Health app. So I'm going to have to go try that out later because I feel like that's going to be a nice thing that I can try. And then just as you did, forget about it though. I have an NFC tag in my bathroom for when I'm going to take a shower. I can tap my phone on it and it starts a playlist and everything. So I might just pop one on my mirror for brushing my teeth as well. You know, why not? That seems like a pretty cool idea. I did also just want to very quickly remind folks about two features on the Apple Watch that you can use. First of all, this is one of the activity faces, which I really like. But what you can do in the Apple Watch, of course, is you can check your blood oxygen levels. I did this a few minutes ago and it was 99%, which I feel is pretty good. And of course, there's also in the newer models, and I believe not the SE, the ECG built in. And to do the ECG, I can't demo it easily on camera, but you put your finger on the crown and then you just sit and you stay still and quiet for about 30 seconds. But once you've done that, then you should be able to get some data over into the health app. And so this is my ECG from earlier today, and it's telling me sinus rhythm. So I'm pretty happy with that. I didn't think I was having any heart problems. It's good to know that technology agrees with me. And for folks thinking it can't be that accurate, right? I have to say when I've had, checkups with my doctor and so on, I've checked things like my blood oxygen on my watch against their machines. Obviously, I'm letting them get on with what they need to do and then checking the data myself afterwards and comparing it. I found it to be pretty accurate. And I've had several doctors say to me that the ECG things have definitely help them find out things about patients that they might have not otherwise looked for yet, because they weren't, that problem just wasn't exhibiting any symptoms. So it's certainly worth checking this data out if you have a device that can provide it for you, just to make sure that there's nothing there that you didn't know about, and maybe you should.
Yeah, fun fact, a couple of weeks ago, before iOS Today, about like 4 a.m, I had to take a trip to the ER that morning. I was having some heart stuff going on, and I'm fine. Everything was okay. But while I was there and they were doing all of the other stuff, the doctor there actually said, he actually asked me, did the Apple Watch, I see you're wearing an Apple Watch, did it tell you anything? Were you getting any alerts? And then he encouraged me to continue to wear it and, have that as a means of keeping track of my heart rhythms in the meantime. So yeah, that was kind of a cool moment of going, okay, if the ER doc is also saying, at the very least, this is a good diagnostic tool to kind of aid in one's decision on, what could be going on, then it is helpful to have that. So yeah, I thought that was kind of a cool thing, even if the situation surrounding it was uncool.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Right. And providing you've got a device that consistently reports measurements. So, if you take your temperature and then you take your temperature again 30 seconds later and it reports the same data, then, it's just a good baseline for this is different to normal, even if it's not necessarily calibrated perfectly like things that you might find in hospitals are. It can just be a good diagnostic for it. There's something up.
And I think now we should go ahead and move on up next to the news, but hopefully you all got some inspiration from this first segment, some different gadgets that make use of HealthKit. I know there are loads more out there. We'd love to hear about what you're using that integrates with HealthKit and helps you keep track of all of those measurements of your body, so you've got a bigger, better picture of your overall health. All right, let us talk about the news. Up first, I did want to mention that there is now an update for iOS 16. This is the 16.0.2 update, and it addresses the problem we talked about last week, where folks would be using their iPhone 14 Pro or Pro Max. They would launch a third-party app like Snapchat or Instagram, and their phone or their camera would start rattling and kind of buzzing. And that was something to do with the optical image stabilization in the camera. There was like a miscommunication between the app and the firmware that controls that little optical image stabilization device. Apple has released an update that, in theory, fixes the problem. I say in theory because it was not a problem that I had personally, so I can't report, that it did fix it. But also, there was the prompt that people were getting very annoyed about, which is that Apple wants you to know, excuse me. Apple wants you to know when an app is trying to pull something from your clipboard, and then you give that app permission to pull from your clipboard. But instead of it kind of being I give this app permission, it can use my clipboard anytime it wants to now, the permission was more it was instead every time it asks for access to my clipboard, then I have to give it permission. And so you had to keep allowing. Obviously very annoying. And the Apple itself said, oh yeah, that's not how that's supposed to be. We're going to fix that. In 16.0.2, that is addressed as well. So yeah, if you have not upgraded to 16.0.2 yet and you're getting annoyed by those prompts about your clipboard, it'd be a good idea to go ahead and jump to 0.0.2.
Yes, definitely. The clipboard things were annoying me as well. And I reported this in the beta as well, because I felt like it was coming out way too often and just being aggravating, but it didn't seem to go anywhere. And then I guess after iOS 16 released and Apple was deluged with reports that every time I tried to paste, the worst one was when you tapped and you got the context menu where it's got, cut, copy, paste, select, and then you tap that and then you tap paste. So it's explicitly something I've done. it would then say, hey, do you want to paste? Yes, I do.
Yes.
That's why I tapped the paste button, believe it or not.
I'm trying.
I mean, I guess underneath, it's all calling the same code realistically at the end of the day to paste the data. So it was just the function that was hooked in there was going, yeah, okay, I'm going to check to make sure that we want to do this. But I felt like it was a little over enthusiastic when it came to protecting my security, as much as that is appreciated, of course.
Yeah, it's the overeager child or the overeager dog. And you're like, I get what you're doing and I adore you, but stop. The other news bit that I wanted to mention today, so Mark Gurman, who often reports on rumors that end up becoming true regarding Apple, has said that there is a chance, I think this is interesting, there is a chance that Apple could skip out on an October event. So we have thought for some time, and the rumor surrounding it for some time has been that Apple would host an October event wherein it would announce new iPads and some new Macs as well. Gurman has since said that, look, although the M2 and M2 Pro Mac Minis might be coming, some M2 Pro and M2 Max MacBook Pros might be coming, and M2 11-inch and 12.9-inch iPad Pros might be coming, that may not be enough to warrant an event because the M2 chip had already been announced earlier on. And so to have, a new event where these devices are being announced with a chip that's already kind of been put out there, that could be a reason to not. However, I remember in years past, or I guess a year past, where the M1 was announced at an earlier event, and then later on the M1 Pro and Max and all that kind of stuff were announced at a separate event. So this is an interesting, and again, this is one of those situations where you have to understand Gurman's kind of reporting, where there are times where he says, sources familiar with the matter say, and then there are times where he says, I think this, I think that. And this is very much an I think this, I think that situation, where he thinks that it's possible that they might just do a series of press releases. But Rosemary, based on your reaction, I am definitely curious to hear your thoughts on this.
Okay, I'd just like to roll the clock back about a year, give or take. So this time last year, Apple had already announced the M1. It was in the 13-inch MacBook Pro, the lower end model, and the MacBook Air. And and then they did a whole event about the M2, or about the M1 Pro, sorry. I feel like this year is no different to that, other than perhaps if they're reusing the same hardware casings, then it doesn't look all that different. But equally, the iPad Pro hasn't changed exterior appearance in quite some time. It's a good couple of generations now that it's got those square sides and the modern Magic Keyboard. So I feel like Apple's not going to skip it just because they've only got 6 products to announce. Like, in what universe is only 6 products to announce not enough. Something to make a song and dance about?
Yeah, I agree. All right. I think we should move on to Shortcuts Corner because I can hear that music playing. Welcome back to Shortcuts Corner, the part of the show where you write in with your shortcuts requests, and Rosemary Orchard, our shortcuts expert, provides a response. Our first bit of Shortcuts Corner comes from Chris, who writes, I want to create an iPad shortcut work that gives me an audio reminder that I have to feed the fish at lunchtime. Now, that is easy, but I want to run this every other day, which means it is not the same day every week. Help. Many thanks, Chris. Interesting. So now we've got a date issue tied to this.
Yeah. So my first solution to this problem, which I'm not sure Chris's fish would appreciate, is either maybe they could fast 1 day a week. That could be a possibility. It seems like it's probably not good for the fish's health, so I'm not really going to recommend that. Or maybe they could have 2 half meals. But then I thought, no, we'll solve it with shortcuts because, that's something that we can do. And there's a whole host of different ways to solve this, folks. But there's a couple of ways which would make it a little bit easier for you. And I'm going to demo one of them. So I'm just going to create this as a shortcut. And then I would use this in the run shortcut action. And to be clear, I'd have this shortcut run every single day because the shortcut is going to determine whether or not it needs to keep going. And that's the bit that we need. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to start with a format date action. And the reason why I'm formatting the date is because, I already have the date. It's a magic variable that's around all of the time. And I've just tapped on the wrong one because it moved under my finger, as it sometimes does. So what you can then do with this is when you finally get the action into your shortcut, which is difficult for me because I'm talking at the same time, is you can actually format your date in a number of different ways, including the day of the year. Now, I'm aware that there are 365 days in a year, but I'm also presuming that very occasionally Chris will go on holiday and therefore potentially adjust the feeding times of the fish. So I finally have my format date action, and what I can do in here is I can just tap into that and I can use the current date variable, which is right here above my keyboard. And so I can then change my date format. And there's a number of different ones. There's relative time. So if you've got the time between 2 dates, then you can even format that. But the one that I'm looking for is the custom one. And there is a document which is actually referenced. If you tap on the little red icon in the top left and you do show info, then there's the formats are all linked here in the Unicode webpage, which is very nice. But what I can do is I can format the date, and I could just format it as DD, which will give me the date with a leading 0. But there are some other options as well. And I believe if I pop in 5Ds, and this is testing my memory now, there is an option for the day of the year, but we'll leave it as month for now because that's simple enough. And then we need the calculate function. Because what we're going to do is we're going to use a mathematical function called modulo, or basically what is the remainder when this is divided by. So we'll just say I want to take the formatted date, and that's going to be a number. And then if I tap on the ... then I can choose my scientific operation, and it's modulus in English, and then I can just say modulus 2. And then I get 1 or 0. Simple enough, right? So now I just need to grab an if statement and say, hey, if this is 1, or if Chris prefers to feed the fish on even days, then you can use that instead. And so I'll just set this to is, and then I type 1, and I'll remove the otherwise, and then you just need to do whatever your alert is, Chris. You could use a speak text action, or you could use a notification, whatever it is you like. Go ahead, go crazy, have some fun with this. Mathematical functions to figure out if it is every other day is one of my favorite sort of sneaky tricks that you can use. So that's
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Another one. Yeah, there's also the option to just get your day of the week. I believe if I format this as 4 capital E's, then I would get the numerical day of the week, which can be quite useful. Of course, if you format it as 5 capital E's, and this is my favorite one, folks. If you want to know if it's a weekend and you are in a English or German-speaking language, or a language where your weekend days both begin with an S and no other days of the week begin with an S, format your date as 5 E's. And then you can say, hey, if it's S, it's a weekend. That's one of my little tricks to check whether or not it is the weekend. Gotta make the most of this sort of thing. And speaking of making the most of things, I did want to just quickly demo to folks. If you've already got, say, a thermometer at home and you want to keep it because it works well, it's fine, you don't use it that often, but you do want to get the data into HealthKit, there's a very easy way to do that with shortcuts. Okay, I'm not going to give you the link to this one, folks. I'm giving you homework because this is one action. And I know you can do this. If you're watching this show, you are capable of doing this. So I have an example here for logging my temperature. So I'm just using a log health sample. I've set the type to body temperature. And then inside of my value, I've got an ask when run, which means that it's going to pop up an ask when run. And then in the date, I've got a current date. Okay, so I'm going to create a new shortcut and I'm just going to demo putting that together for folks because I feel like a lot of folks have already got nice, they've got some decent health devices and maybe it just doesn't have HealthKit support. It has an app, but the app's kind of crummy and they don't really like using it, so they just use it as a dumb device. So you create a log health sample action in your shortcut and then you select your type. And here you get to choose from all of the types. Okay, so if you are doing a blood oxygen measurement, you can measure that. You can also, however, use this for doing things like logging vitamins that you've taken, caffeine that you're consuming. Maybe if you've been having potential heart problems and you've been having some chest tightness or pain, you want to log that, you can do that with a shortcut. And I feel like it's a very good idea to just go through and have a little look at this every once in a while because they keep adding more and more options. If you want to log dry skin as a symptom, you can do that. And that can be a symptom of a number of different things. If you've got a child who's growing, you can log their height, or you can log your own height, lower back pain, etc., memory lapse. But what I am going to pick is there it is, toothbrushing. So if you have not done this before with this particular kind of health data, you're going to have to tap allow access and you're going to have to turn on, you're going to have to allow shortcuts to read and write your toothbrushing data. Okay, so I'm going to do that. And then I can, fill in the date. And depending on what action it is, you may or may not need an ask when running. For toothbrushing, I guess you would probably use an adjust date option, or you can go ahead and pick something else. And so I will pick my blood pressure. And again, I'll just quickly allow access. It's going to take my diastolic and systolic blood pressure levels. And so I'll turn that on. And because I'd already popped the date in a previous action, it stayed there. And then what I can do is I can change my unit. So if I want PA, KPA, ATM, etc., I can choose that. And then in the value, I can just pop in, there's a variable right here above my keyboard that says ask each time. Okay, and so I can just do that. And then when I run this shortcut action, it's going to pop up and it's going to give me a field to just type in that data. So you can put this on your home screen. I've done this for my parents. They've got a number of devices which are fairly decent at logging or getting information for them, but they don't have HealthKit support necessarily. So I've created some shortcuts for them which look like little apps on their devices, and they just use that to log data into the health app so that they actually have it stored. And you know what? It works. It's free, and it certainly gives their devices a little bit of a longer life, which is certainly not a disadvantage if you're trying to save money or, just look after your money as well as your health.
Awesome. That is a wonderful tip. And yes, as Yoon pointed out, it is a good idea to do that homework. Give it a go. See what you can do. Anything else that you want to share in the Shortcuts Corner segment before we move on?
There is one little thing. I mentioned before, there's a button on this Apple Watch Ultra and you can press it. But I'm sure you saw when I opened up the app that, there isn't actually a choice. Like, you can't have it change action depending on what you're doing or various other things. And I did go into the Shortcuts app and, there's been something since then where I can control my action button, but I don't believe there is. Oh no, look at that. There isn't the ability to set what my action button does. Oh no, that's terrible. But because I am the queen of shortcuts, as Mikah occasionally refers to me, or maybe just because I'm a geeky nerd, probably the latter, I've created my own action button shortcut. And what happens when I run this action button is I'm using the new iOS 16.1 action for Get Current Focus. And then I'm saying, hey, if my current focus is fitness, I want to start my dance workout. And other than that, for the time being, what I'm doing is I'm just popping up a notification that says hello world. and getting a list of the Apple Watch faces on my watch, getting a random Apple Watch face and setting my Apple Watch to that random face. And that's how you can actually customize the action button to do different things depending on your context. Because I think that is something that quite a few folks will probably want. I am not sure who permanently wants a button to start diving on their wrist. I'm sure there are people who dive all day, every day, who will buy the Apple Watch Ultra, who definitely want that. But I have a feeling for a lot of us, it's going to be contextual, depending on what focus mode we're in or similar. And I feel like this might be a good way to do it. There's also a get current watch face action where you can get your current watch face to help, you figure out what kind of mood or mode you're in. So you can use both of those or, just check your calendar, figure out what you're doing based on that. The world is your oyster.
Oh, I love that idea. Now I'm going to have to get the Ultra because then I could have it
Micah, I had to.
automatically.
When one of the Shortcuts team tweeted that it's an intense button and it can run shortcuts, I kind of just felt that like I had to. So I went digging around, found some old devices that I could recycle to Apple to get some vouchers. And I decided that I was just going to go for it.
I love that idea. I push that button on my wrist and it turns on the lights in my office. It turns on Do Not Disturb and it runs my auto lock shortcut that lets me turn off auto locking on my phone. Oh, that'd be so cool. I know I could just set up a button that does that somewhere in my room, but I want it on my wrist.
You do.
All right. Let's move along to feedback and questions so I can forget about how much I want the Ultra. The first one comes from Doug. Doug writes in, I've had a problem with my brand new iPhone 14 Pro Max rebooting. It seems to happen when it's charging. I went to the Apple Store and they said the logic board was having issues. They replaced the phone and it was still happening. I went back to the Apple Store and they said the CPU was losing power. They replaced it again. It is still happening with this phone. Now either Apple has a major quality issue or it's a software issue. I finally found other people reporting this issue on the Apple community website. I'm waiting to see if Apple is going to address this. And here is my kitty tax. Yes, the pet tax we charge folks who they don't have to pay, but we love it when you pay. This is Linux and Chewie. Oh, hello, Linux and Chewie.
So
We've
adorable.
got a black and white cat on the left with a beautiful, I guess we call that, is that a star? Is that a row? I forget what the thing is called on horses whenever they've got a pattern on their forehead. Yeah, so nice white star on the kitty's forehead. And then the other one has the most beautiful light green eyes. It is a white and gray and black cat. With a little brown nose. Yeah. They're both adorable. And they're both wearing harnesses, I notice.
Oh, yeah. Some cats love going for walks, Micah. And, this is the health episode of iOS Today. So I felt it was only fitting. But yeah, so Doug did actually follow up and send a few more emails saying that he'd heard that restoring your iPhone using, the restore mode could actually fix the problem. So he tried doing that. And unfortunately, no dice. It's still happening. His phone is still rebooting. And so the only things that I have got to recommend to Doug specifically are check all of the components, right? So that there's potentially a problem with the phone, but it's definitely worth checking your lightning cable, swapping that out for a different cable, or trying MagSafe or another kind of wireless charging. And check your wall wart, the thing that actually provides the power from the wall. Make sure that it is definitely properly grounded. Try using a different outlet, things like that. Make sure that everything in your chain is definitely working and safe and not causing any problems in any way. And see if that potentially helps, though. Equally, if the Apple Store are replacing your phone, I'm guessing that's because they plug it in and it goes and reboots when they see it, which is not great. So I'm hoping that we are going to see some kind of fix for this soon. It's certainly been reported by 9to5Mac, and I don't know if you've heard any more about this.
Yeah.
Micah.
I was going to say one of the best things that someone can hear, I feel, whenever they've got an issue is that they're not alone, because it does mean that, this is something that other people are experiencing, which means that it's more likely to be to have attention paid to it, but also that you can go, okay, so maybe this is not something that I've been doing. There are a few people who have reported this same issue with their device randomly restarting while they're charging. When these folks had contacted Apple support said do a full restore from backup with firmware DFU mode turned on, which is a recovery mode. A type of recovery mode, the full restore from backup with actual recovery mode, disabling optimized charging, and then one support person apparently told them to uninstall the Eufy app. I don't know why. None of that worked, but then there was a person who was able to get it to work by disabling background app refresh. If that is the case, then this is some sort of software issue that will hopefully be fixed. But the fact that other people are experiencing it as well, and that having new devices given to you, replaced with new devices doesn't seem to be fixing the problem, then I think it's got to be software or firmware. Something to do with whatever apps or services you have on your device that are causing this to happen. There could be that. So people are saying they paid so much attention that they looked at the percentage of their phones between 90 and 95%, and especially at 93%, that is whenever the phone would randomly restart. And it's possible that at those higher percentages, there's an app that is trying to pull data from something, and when it does that, then it's causing the phone to crash. I mean, there's any number of things that could be causing this, but what it does sound like is it's hopefully not a hardware issue, and is something that can be solved with an update or a specific fix.
Yes. I do actually have a theory, by the way, as to why the Apple Store suggested that somebody uninstalled the Eufy app. If I open the settings of my iPhone and I type battery into the search, I get the battery, I get battery health, I get low power mode, which is also definitely worth a try because that downgrades a whole bunch of things, including stopping apps trying to connect to various different things, like email is not going to go out and check as frequently and stuff. And Eufy security pops up here too. So I'm wondering if perhaps that's why the person suggested that they uninstall it. And so I would like to suggest, check which apps are popping up in background app refresh. If you pop into the battery, then you should be able to get some idea of what apps are using all of your battery or potentially none of your battery. I've been using Apollo a lot, it seems, and the Ura app as well. But my phone's at 100%. So I feel like I'm doing all right, but it's also worth potentially trying to enable that low power mode at night as well. And don't forget, folks, if you go into the focus mode settings for sleep, then you can actually, as one of your options, you can turn on low power mode as one of the focus filters. So when you add a filter, one of the options that you can configure there is turning on low power mode, which could be a nice way around that if you want to give that a shot.
Interesting. Yeah. Look, this is a tough one, and Doug, I'd love to hear more. And of course, we'll keep an eye on things from our end. And if there are any updates, then we'll let you know about that. Michael has also written in about family groups. Michael says, "Hello. I would like to know if it's possible to still be in family groups but not share payment cards. I don't like that my wife's purchases go on my credit card. Thanks. Love the show. Michael from Kentucky." I can tell you, Michael, yes, you can disable that portion of the family. What I should be clear, Michael is talking about family sharing, which is part of Apple's iCloud plan. So you can basically add members of your family. I originally, with the people that I shared it with, I had that part turned off and everything else turned on. That's one of the beautiful sort of aspects about iCloud family sharing, is that you get to choose what you want. In fact, on iOS 16, when you launch your iPhone, you go into the settings app and you tap on family, which shows up below your name. If folks are going, why is it not on the screen? I'm purposely not showing it on the screen to protect people's privacy here. But you will see.
I can show it on screen because I've given people nicknames, if that helps.
Oh, good. Yes, so please do. Show us.
Yeah. So you can tell people what it is. Unfortunately, things are still loading for me, but you can at the very least see what the screen looks like now.
as you can see on Rosemary's phone, you've got the names of the folks up at the top, but down at the bottom, there are 3 settings that say subscriptions, purchase sharing, and location sharing. The person needs to just tap on purchase sharing, and then you can choose stop purchase sharing. At that point, then those purchases will be done individually. The person will be responsible for entering their own information if they don't already have it in there. They will buy those apps. Everything else will stay the same. You'll still have subscription sharing. You'll still have location sharing if you've got that set up, and you'll still have all of the other cool features of iCloud family sharing. So very easy to do, Michael, to maintain everything else and have that part turned off. All right.
Another way around this. I was just going to say another way around this for folks is iTunes vouchers, the good old iTunes vouchers, App Store vouchers as they're now called. If the person loads up their account with those, then the purchases will come off of their credit first and not your credit card.
Oh, that's a great option there. Yeah, a little bank to keep locally. All right, with that, it is time to move along to our app caps. I really didn't want to mess up my hair, but alas, there we go. It's time for App Caps. This is the part of the show where we wear caps atop our heads to honor our app and gadget picks of the week. These are the apps and gadgets we're using that we want to share with all of you. Rosemary Orchard, tell us about the cap atop your head and then tell us about your app or gadget pick.
Well, it's starting to get chilly over here, and it's actually hit that point where people are getting out winter coats and then melting the next day in T-shirts because this is England. And so I have dug out one of my favorite winter hats, which is just a sort of a gray, black, and white sort of twill number. It's got a little bow on the side, other side, and it's very comfortable and it's surprisingly warm as well. And before I dive into my app cap, I do just want to do a little follow-up on Mikah's app cap from last week because Mikah was talking about that awesome in-case lanyard for the new AirPods Pro, and I found on the Apple Store you can get cases for the normal AirPods and the AirPods Pro. And it doesn't specify which version of the AirPods Pro this is, but I can confirm these are the new AirPod Pros and they fit and they come with the lanyards too. And this will stop the case getting scuffed up. So I got these. They are a gorgeous shade of purple. On some app stores, they're referred to as red. On others, pink. Some of them purple or magenta. I can confirm they are purple. It's difficult to compare it with my hair, but I promise you they are definitely purple.
If anyone knows purple, it's Rosemary.
Yeah, a little bit of follow-up there. Tell you what, folks, I will compare it with my my Purple Pro iPhone for you, which is showing up very gray in this light, but it is, I promise you, it's purple. So yeah, very much happy with these. And something else that I'm very happy with on iOS is that awesome feature where you can take a picture of something and then you can just, lift it out of the picture. So I'm just going to demonstrate this because there is an app that I want everybody to know about, which uses this feature. And so what you can do, just if you pop into the camera app, then you can take a photo of something. So I'm going to take a photo of the AirPods Pro case. I apologize for the slight dustiness that is my mouse mat, but that's all right. And then I'm going to go into a great little app called Sticker Drop. And Sticker Drop, guess what? It takes those images that you drag and drop and it makes them into stickers. Yes, actual stickers, like iMessage stickers that you can use in the Messages app. Okay, so I will just quickly pop over to Photos and then I can show you how this drag feature works. So what you do is you just take your finger and you put it on the object in the picture and you pick it up. That's it. And then what you can do on your iPhone or your iPad is just swipe up that bottom bar and go back to the Sticker Drop app, and then you can drop it in, and that's it. You've made your sticker. But there's an even better part of this. When I tap on that info bubble, I can add a description for accessibility purposes. I can set a border on it. So I can just have a little shadow behind it, or I can have a border and I can make that border bigger if I want to. I can change the color of the border to make it, oh gosh, that's an interesting shade of turquoise. I'm going to make that back into white and tone that border down a little bit. You can have a corner curl on it if you want, and you can choose and put it into your own sticker packs. You can also rotate things. So if you picked up an image of something and it was off at a different angle, then you can do that, and you get to see what it looks like on a actual message, which is quite nice. So I'm going to put this in as those are the AirPods in purple case, because you have to be precise here when you're making sure that folks actually know what you're describing in an image. There's no point just putting random keywords that might, make something more popular. You actually need to describe what that image is for. So I've done that. And now what I can do, see that little info bubble? That's gone, but it's still there on the iPhone. And then what I can do is I can actually send this to somebody and I can use it. And I just love this. And so, if I tap the plus, then I can actually, use this in a message to somebody. And yes, folks, there's an iMessage app. So I can actually use this in iMessage and bam, ta-da, I can send this to somebody. Isn't that great?
It's fantastic.
This is fabulous. It is $2.99 on the App Store. I particularly like the fact that I can create my own sticker packs. And so I can create whole packs of stickers, and then you can actually, send things to people and share them and so on. It's just very, very nice. There's a whole host of options in here. So you can adjust your sticker size if you like. So you can have small, medium, small, regular, or large stickers. You can change your import settings. So you can set your default. So if you don't want to have a border on images and you don't want a drop shadow on things that you've dropped in, you can do that, or you can customize whatever you like. And it's got little explanations everywhere for these things. And yes, you've got your sticker packs. So you can create more sticker packs. You can give them icons. These are all of the SF symbols, which Apple make available. And then you can add stickers to a sticker pack. So I could create one called Mikah, and then I could get awesome pictures of dogs and yarn and crochet things and put them into a Mikah sticker pack. Sounds pretty awesome, right? But yeah, I would highly recommend this app. It is $2.99 one-time purchase, and just amazing. And I very much appreciate the fact that there is a descriptive text option for every sticker, because I feel that is just so useful. Mikah is sending me stickers. I feel like I'm going to have to compete and send Mikah a sticker back. I'm just going to tap cancel, and there we go. It did come through, and then it disappeared on me. But that's just messages being a bit silly.
I wonder. Yeah, it went away.
But there we go. But yes, so you can. Don't forget, folks. You can use tap to send, or you can do the whole pickup thing and send drag a sticker onto a message. Isn't that cool? I love it.
This is an insta buy for me for sure. I love, like you said, the image descriptions are in there, and it makes it so easy to create those stickers. So definitely had to get that one immediately. Today I am wearing, this was my first cabling project that I've done for knitting. So this is a cable knit hat in green, of course. I think this is going to end up being a gift. I just wanted to wear it once for an app cap, and then I'm going to add the little ball at the top as well.
The pom-pom.
Then give this away. Yeah, the pom-pom. Thank you. And then give this away as a gift. But it's very hot, so I'm actually going to remove it now that I've shown it. And yeah, did a number to my hair a little bit, but that's okay. So the gadget that I'm talking about today, yeah, that's a problem. Anyway, the gadget that I'm talking about today are AirPods Pro 2nd Gen. I just got these as well, and I am currently rocking the Bear case with that in-case lanyard on the side because, yes, Apple has included now a lanyard loop built into the case itself. Now there are speaker holes on the bottom so that the case can make sounds. It does this when you plug it into charge. It's also for Find My if you're trying to find your AirPods that have been misplaced or dropped somewhere. And then on top of that, Apple has improved upon the active noise cancellation. It's better than it ever has been, according to Apple and according to Mikah. That is the case. I put these in. I just got mine yesterday. I was supposed to get them on launch day, but I wasn't here to pick them up, and so I went and got them on Monday at the UPS store, and they are. I'm very impressed. The way that they can filter out sound was better than I had expected. The bass is actually quite incredible on these, despite the fact that you've got these tiny little, buds in your ears. And I haven't done a lot with spatial audio this time around, but I did go ahead and do. Apple now features this personalized spatial audio where it will take scans of your ears and use that information to better provide for a spatial audio that's customized to you. I'm not a big spatial audio person in general, but it is cool that it's there. I mostly just wanted to have active noise cancellation again because I have had AirPods for as long as AirPods have been around. And for the first, I think year or two, I don't even know how long I've had these now. The active noise cancellation was fantastic. And then it started to have that issue that a lot of people had. Unfortunately, at the same time, my dog got a hold of one of them and decided to go to town chewing on it. So I knew if I took it in, then they were going to say, oh, well, we're not going to replace that because the reason that it's making that rattling and howling sound is because your dog chewed on it. And it's like, no, it's because there's an issue there. But anyway, so I just didn't want to run down that track. And I was just kind of waiting for new ones to come out. So now I have ANC again. I love being able to put these in and zone out the world when I need to get focused. And it's just, these are great. I'm very happy with them. So I did want to make them my app cap this week. They're available for $249. And something that I found that was kind of impressive is that Apple seems to have made quite a few of these because there are not necessarily going to be delivery delays. There are a lot in stores. So if you head to a store, you may still be able to get them. There are quite a few of them out there. So the sort of supply constraint on these is not as great as some of the other devices. So yeah, that's AirPods Pro 2nd gen. So far, so doggone good. I'm happy to have another pair of lightweight noise cancellation because I have been using my Sony headphones in the interim. And while I love these, I get very hot in these because they cover up my ears and my ears then get warm, which causes my whole head to get warm. And it's a whole thing. I feel more free and better equipped to like move around when I'm wearing these AirPods Pro. Oh, and I have to mention my absolute favorite thing about them is that now I can swipe on the stem to turn down or up the volume. Hallelujah. That is something that I've wanted. In fact, I was so excited about that I let out an audible sound in the Steve Jobs Theater at the Apple event when it was announced that they could finally be controlled by volume up and volume down swipes. I did like a woo! And then people around did a little chuckle. So yeah, I was ridiculously excited about being able to control the volume from the stems. Very excited about these new 2nd gen AirPods Pro. And Rosemary, you have those now too?
Yes, I do. Though this is my second pair already. Not because I destroyed the first pair, not because I have a dog that ate them, but mine were dead on arrival, actually. I opened the box, and usually Apple devices ship with about 50% charge because that's how you should store lithium batteries. If you're not using them for a while, you should store them at about 50% charge. But they were dead, and they just didn't light up at all. And I thought, okay, well, I got unlucky. I'll plug them in to charge them. And an hour and a half later, no dice. But I had an appointment to go pick up this thing at the Apple store. And so I said, hey, do you have any left that I can exchange? And they were able to swap them for me.
Well, I'm glad that you had that appointment at the very least. So you were able to get that swapped in, a new pair. I'm glad mine didn't. I had that actually happen one time with an actual MacBook Pro. Like I got the laptop home and it wouldn't charge. And I had to take it back and get a new one. It was kind of wild. I didn't expect it on that level. I could see it with the smaller devices, but just something that large. And it's just like, oh man, what's going on here? And again, you especially those of us who are techie, we spend time going, might be something that I'm doing. I can think of a way to fix this. I got to try all these different things before you take it in and just say, look, there's nothing else I can do. But looks like you got there in the end. In any case, we have come to the end of this episode of iOS Today. If you have questions, feedback, concerns, Shortcuts Corner requests, all that stuff, you can send those to iostoday@twit.tv. We record the show live every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and you can tune in live by going to twit.tv/live and watching the live stream. But there is an excellent way to make sure that you get the show the moment it's available in its beautifully edited version. That is by going to twit.tv/iOS. When you go there, you will see an option to subscribe to audio or subscribe to video, and then you can choose your provider, be it Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Pocket Casts, all those different places. We try to be available to you there. And there's another place we're available, completely ad-free. It's called Club Twit. For $7 a month, you get every single Twit show with no ads. You also get access to the exclusive Twit Plus bonus feed that has extra content you won't find anywhere else. And so that's going to be behind the scenes, before the show, after the show, everything in between. We love to post lots of interesting content there. And you can get access to the Club Twit Discord server. That is an excellent place to go because in the Discord server, you can chat with your fellow Club Twit members and also those of us here at Twit. If that's not enough for you for $7 a month or $84 a year at twit.tv/clubtwit, well, don't worry, because I'm offering even more. You can get access to some great shows, including the Untitled Linux Show, my show, Hands on Mac, where I talk about all sorts of tips for your Apple devices, and Paul Thurrott's Hands on Windows, the show where you will get tips and tricks about Windows featuring Paul Thurrott. All of that, twit.tv/clubtwit. Head there, check it out. Rosemary Orchard, if folks want to follow you online and check out all the great work you're doing, where should they go to do so?
The best place to go is over at rosemaryorchard.com, which has links to all the things I do on the internet. And of course, you can find me on Twitter at rosemaryorchard and hanging out in the Club Twit chat room with some awesome, amazing people in the iOS Today channel who've been asking some very good questions and posing some very interesting questions and just thoughts and everything. It's lovely chatting with all those folks. So thanks if you are in there. And if you're not, hopefully I'll see you soon. What about you, Mikah?
You can find me online at Mikah Sargent on many a social media network, or you can head to chihuahua.coffee. That's CHIHUAHUA.coffee, where I've got links to the places I'm most active online. Thank you all for tuning in. You can catch us next week for another episode of iOS Today. Goodbye.
Hey, we should talk Linux. It's the operating system that runs the internet, but your game consoles, cell phones, and maybe even the machine on your desk. But you already knew all that. What you may not know is that Twit now has a show dedicated to it, the Untitled Linux Show. Whether you're a Linux pro, a burgeoning sysadmin, or just curious what the big deal is, you should join us on the Club Twit Discord every Saturday afternoon for news, analysis, and tips to sharpen your Linux skills. And then make sure you subscribe to the Club Twit exclusive Untitled Linux Show. Wait, you're not a Club Twit member yet? Well, go to twit.tv/clubtwit and sign up. Hope to see you there.